You've been labeled the Meremaker and the Kingmaker. I even heard a community leader say you are not someone to mess with. How does it make you feel to be given labels or hear comments like that?
Do I look like that? I mean, well, you know, I'm not by reason of my personality somebody who pursues coverage. So most of that stuff makes me feel uncomfortable, and I think it overstates the role I play in the campaigns. I'm you know, I'm basically a technical advisor for my clients, and their success is mostly due to their whatever their accomplishments are, their leadership, their in many cases their hard work, not necessarily my involvement. So I think, although I'm obviously flattered by things like that, I don't think it's an accurate representation of the role I play in the campaigns.
Now, what does it take for a candidate to win besides money and a great personality? And how much money will the challengers need to be competitive against Supervisor Ron Roberts?
Depending on the size of the district and the nature of it, there's a threshold that if you get over it, where you've got enough money to communicate your basic message, you can be competitive regardless of how much your opponent raises. And the same is true for the supervisors' races. It's a relatively high threshold compared to like a city council race. You can't run a county supervisor race relying on volunteers going door to door and, you know, a $50,000 budget. It just isn't enough to reach a critical mass of voters. But do you need $500,000 to be competitive? No, I don't think so. So I don't know, the number on that race is maybe $200,000. One of the opponents could mount an effective campaign. There are two things going on, I think. The underlying financial issues have got to get resolved for the city to move forward. And my observation as somebody who's been watching city government since the 1970s is that for several decades, local elected officials did not have the courage to acknowledge to voters that there was a disconnect between the services that they wanted and expected from city government and the amount of revenue that is available to city government. And for the city to move forward, that basic conflict has got to be resolved. It's complicated. Resolving it is complicated because of all the other things that have happened. The level of trust in city government has been weakened by the actions of past mayors and councils. Yes. And so at some point, whether it's sooner or later, that issue has to be addressed. And you know, I'm hopeful that it will be addressed sooner, because if it's not, we're going to go through a period of really serious cutbacks in basic services. So that's one issue. The second one is kind of a bigger picture one, and the cities that I see that have really done good, big cities that have done good things, have, in addition to traditional political leadership, they have ongoing, stable, non-governmental leadership, and it's in big cities. It's usually diverse, and it's the kind of leadership that is able to build consensus when there are really big issues that are on the table. If we're going to move forward as a community, we got to get to the point where we got that kind of leadership infrastructure outside of government, so that when those moments come along where it's important for everybody to be together, we can do it, we can pull it off.